It's always an interesting thing to talk about leverage or talk about who your who's are. All right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and get started. And because again, we're going to go about to 45 minutes on. It's always an interesting thing to talk about leverage or talk about who your who's are. You just got to remember now, whenever we do a mastermind, it's for all of us to participate in. It's not for us to just take in. It's for us to take, but not just take in from me, take in from all of us. Now, I will certainly give you some good stuff from my experience, from all the things that I've done. I'll kind of give you some of my stories or things like that. Hey, Shannon, I don't think I've seen you for a little while. Good to see you.
Thank you. You too.
But anyway, the bottom line is that we all, to be able to accomplish the things. In fact, I wrote this down. What are you trying to accomplish? In fact, write that down. If you're writing anything down right now, or, to be able to find the who, to be able to find, your leverage people and those type of things, people for you to be able to go and do things like I am doing right now. What are you actually attempting to accomplish? Let me tell you what I wrote down and what I mean by this. Do you have who's or leverage in your life that give you the perspectives, resources, and ability to go beyond what you could do alone? So I want you to really think about that, because we all think that we could do this business alone. We all think that we could do. I had a lady, and I was talking to her, and she's a real estate agent, and she does 12 deals a year. 12, that's it. And she's full time. And here's what she said to me, and she said it on a Zoom that I was doing, and she goes, I do 12 deals a year, and I work 10 to 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, and I cannot do any more. She and I don't mean to offend anybody on here in any way, shape, or form, but that's only one deal a month, and you're full time, and you're working 10, 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. There's really something wrong. Okay. And she actually needs a coach. She needs to hire a coach and do what they say or do something in there. But again, what is it that who are the who's in your life that give you the perspectives, resources, and ability to go beyond what you could do alone? So let's just talk about your business for one moment, okay? Let's kind of take that. Who do you have? And I want us to write that down. If you don't have anybody, just say I don't have anybody at, maybe at this time. Because down the road you might look and say, well, maybe I do need somebody. But who do you have that gives you the opportunity to be able to grow, that you can't do it alone, and so you've got to have somebody to help you out with that? Who do you have? Just holler it out. Come off mute.
I have 2 VAs, a transaction coordinator, and supportive friends, and you.
Whoa. First of all, I like the last one there. But let me hang on just a minute. Dang it. Okay. Say that again, Shannon.
So I have 2 VAs.
2 VAs.
A transaction coordinator.
Transaction coordinator.
Supportive friends, and colleagues that I can bounce questions off of, and then you as a coach.
Got it. Dang, that's really good. I'm telling you that's a good set of people.
But I only do 3 transactions a year.
Well,
so I'm set up, but not producing.
Well, you know what? You are set up for it. You are set up for it. I mean, and sometimes, let me just say this to you. Sometimes it's good to get set up, if you can get set up to be able to grow, right? Sometimes you got to get it beforehand to be able to grow. Okay, Pamela, what do you have?
Yeah, I have a full-time admin, so And she does work with the transactions. She does my marketing for me and helps me keep my schedule. So she is unlicensed, so she can't open doors or do anything like that. So I'd like to add a buyer agent or someone to be able to show property and be at home inspections and do things like that. So, but
Okay. Okay, I'll get back to that. I got a couple of ideas or thoughts around that also, along with Shannon. I want to give everybody an opportunity.
mhm.
Who else? Who else do you have? Anybody?
I have somebody that I work with
Who, Judith?
for my buyers, but he only helps me with my buyers by choice. He does showings, he shows up at all the inspections, he lines up the inspections, and he does contract close.
Well, dang, man, Pamela, there you go. That's what you're looking for right there, I believe.
And he is a real estate broker, and I'm a real estate broker. We're both independent, and he used to work with me before he decided to start his own company. So he went on his own, and we've just always managed our relationship, and he still fulfills that assistant role for me with buyers. He would do it for listings too, but I just don't feel like I need that much help with listings. So
Okay. Wow. So he shows property for you.
yep,
He sets up home inspections and all that kind of stuff for you.
yes,
And he's your transaction coordinator
on those transactions.
on those transactions.
Yep.
That's pretty interesting, Judith. I
Well,
really
I
is.
pay him really well for that. He gets 10%, but it's totally worth it to me because it works out great. I still negotiate the contract. I show houses when I want to. Like
No,
I'll show up.
10%'s good. 10,
I know,
I was
Doing
like,
it.
I thought you were going to tell me he gets 50%.
no, and he's really great because if we don't close, he doesn't charge me anything, even though I send him a gift. It's really just because we have such a great relationship. And when he travels or something like that, I'll go pick up a lockbox for him or something. But it's a really great relationship.
Give us an insight for just a moment. What is your average sales price?
These days, I calculated out last month. It's like $750.
Okay. Now, okay. So somebody help me with that because let's just say 3%. You're looking at about
21,000
21,000
is my average GCI.
and you pay him 10% of the 21,000.
Yep.
So he's making 2,100.
Yeah.
I'd pay 10% all day long.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And then I'll go look at the house that the buyers want to put an offer on. So I'm still the lead agent on it.
Yeah. I'd pay him 10% all day long, man. I mean, I'm like, come on, how many more can you do? How much
Exactly.
money you want to
Yeah.
make?
It works
Dang.
out really well for us.
I got to tell you, mastermind that for just a moment, everybody. Talk to me just for a minute about that. I think it's wonderful that, let's see, because I don't want this to a day.
Yes, Rob.
Stop the recording.
All right.
Hey guys, Nick Paredes. So I'm getting out of a 20 plus year full-time business in the legal world. My company I'm not a lawyer, but I'm a paralegal there. And my company was bought out by a bigger firm and they decided to put a lot. I mean, the landscape of the law firm just changed after that. And so I've been a licensed broker for about 18 years, just kind of held on to it. So to answer the question, that was probably the long answer to a short question, but just my broker for now. Just trying to get back into it. I know things have changed. When I first got into the business, it was newspapers and mailers, and here I am diving back in the digital world. So just getting back in, getting my feet wet, and seeing what's out there, and ready to adapt.
Good for you, Nick. Yeah, I think so too. Rick, I saw you come in. I know you got something there for us.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, I mean, I don't have a whole lot, but we use SkySlope that has a transaction coordinator option for each transaction, which helps me a lot because if I'm really busy, I can pass it off to them. If not, then I can save the money. And then kind of like Judith, I got an agent on the south side and we kind of work together. I'm on the north side of the city. He's on the south side. So if I've got buyers down there that I need help with or vice versa, we kind of team things off. So I'm not driving all the way down to the south side all the time and hours drive to show like something and vice versa. So we kind of share our buyers in that way, to like save time. And then we work it out on each deal. We don't have a flat a flat rate. It just depends upon how much effort goes into it, and then we agree upon a split.
Well, that's again, that's another wonderful relationship, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's building those relationships even from a distance there to where you can you don't want to drive that far. I can remember when I lived in Virginia. Oh, I live in Virginia now, but in the mountains of Virginia. But I lived in the Virginia Beach. I don't know if you know where that area is. Between Williamsburg and Virginia Beach. In between Williamsburg and Virginia Beach, there is a Hampton Roads Bridge tunnel, and nobody wants to cross it. No one. It's terrible. And so we always did that with each other. It's called the South Side and the Peninsula Side, and we would build relationships with people on both sides, but nobody wanted to drive through that tunnel, and so we would just give referrals back and forth like that. So yeah, I get that. Jennifer, I don't want to leave you out. Do you have anybody that you use or that is there to help you, and you're not alone?
No, I belong to a small team,
Okay.
just she and I.
Well, that's like
Team
Brandy.
leader and I. And I'm the one who shows everything.
Okay.
And she does a listing over her own. And then of course I show my my buyers. And so because she's team lead and she does paperwork for the brokerage.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You and Brandy are kind of together like that. You're on a team. You're buyers agents and showing agents and those type of things. Okay. One of the biggest things, and you probably have that, and I like what Rick said there about Sky Slope, and I know Brandy and Jennifer probably have this, and the rest of you, and I know I heard you say this, Shannon, but everybody to me should have a transaction coordinator. Okay. I will say that. And again, it might be, for example, Judith, you have what's that person's name?
His name is Randy.
Randy. You have Randy on the transactions that you guys do that handles the contract to closing. But again, I do believe that having a transaction coordinator is the very first thing that everybody should have, only for the fact that most of the time it doesn't cost you if it doesn't close, but if it does close, it doesn't cost that much. I mean, 300, I think the most I've heard was $400, and some of them are a little bit less than that. Yeah.
Not on our case. So my buyer leads, they're trying to buy a $10,000 house. So I sold, $40,000 house, and there's no way I'll go going through the transaction coordinator. And also that one was from Up City. So then I had to pay out, that too. So, and we don't have that many transactions right now. So there's, she always trying to save money. So there's no way we're going to be using transaction coordinators. That's too much money.
Okay. Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. Okay. I can appreciate that. Brandy, did you have something? I know you. Yeah. Were you going to say anything?
No, we have RTC fee is $765.
Wow. Okay. That's pretty high. It's a lot higher than I've heard. That's the first time.
Yeah, that's a high.
I have their contract to close people here, and the most they charge is just under $400. They have staggered services, and you can get it as cheap as like per thing they do, all the way up, like for $50, all the way up to almost $400.
Yeah, my daughter has a national transaction coordinator company, And you know, she charges, I think it's $350 for every transaction. Might be 400, but it's definitely not more than $400. But I think it's like $350. Heck, it used to be just a few years ago, $250. I remember that.
I have a private lady. If I were to use her, it's about 350, 400.
There you go.
If I was going outside of where I am currently.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Hey, I want you to write this down. I'm gonna make a statement, then I'm gonna have you write something down. If you're ready to realize a much bigger and more powerful future, and that's a big deal, because I think, Shannon, again, you're really set up to really grow, and now you got to go grow, right? you can't be set up to grow and then don't grow, all right? Then you must stop asking yourself this question. And I want you to write that. In other words, put there, stop asking this. Now I'm going to give you the question. How can I accomplish this? Stop asking that question. How can I accomplish this? See, that question alone leads to mediocre results. Okay, just that question alone. How can I accomplish this? You know, a much better question is this. Put this underneath it, if you will. Say this. Who can help me achieve this? Who can help me achieve this? Because again, you see, you got to stop saying, man, I can't do this. I can't, I've got too much. How can I do this? How can I make this happen? How can I do this? How can I make this? How can I get to 50 transactions a year? How can I get to 100 transactions? How can I do? Asking the how question is who can help me to do that? I'll give you an example with my own self, and I'll toot my own horn just a little bit. And I don't, I used to like tooting it a lot, but I don't toot it much anymore. Don't need to. But here's the way I've always been. And I don't know about you guys. And I'm having a hard time sometimes finding, and Day is real close to it. She's learning a lot about how to operate, but I'm having a hard time finding Rob Daniels to help in my life. And let me tell you what I'm talking about. I can remember working for Long & Foster Real Estate. Now, Long & Foster was the largest independent real estate company in the United States at one time, got bought out by Berkshire, and they were in the Mid-Atlantic states. So I was between Williamsburg and Virginia Beach, and I remember going to Mr. Foster's office. He was a short guy, big cigar in his mouth. Just think about this, short guy, big cigar behind a great big desk. Can you get that vision? And I'm sitting in front of him, and he's pounding on the desk. Rob, I need 500 people in that region. I'm losing $1 million a year, and I need to make $1 million a year. Can you give it to me? And I said, yes, sir, I do. I believe I can. He said, well, then tell me what you need and go get it done. And within 4 years, I had 900 people making $4 million. He didn't have to come and tell me what to do. He found the who and then said, go do it. Tell me what you need and go do it. My question to you is this. I mean, again, are there people out there like, and probably you are like me. I'm going to say all of you on here are like me. Okay. If you were hired by somebody, would they be able to just give you the task and say, go do it and be the best at it? And you could go figure it out. You don't have to keep coming back. Oh, I don't know what to do. Tell me what to do. Oh my gosh, I need this. I need that. My gosh. I just never have been that way. And I get a little bit, I don't know if I'm frustrated or what, that kind of thing, but I'm surprised that there's just not people, seems like much, that you could say, hey, I need this done. Now go figure out how to do it and make it happen. And they make it happen, right?
Rob, if you incentivize, you have to have good incentives for people. That's when we were talking about this in the 10% or the whatever for transactions. If you throw bonuses in when you reach certain levels, when you do certain things, it's incentives, and people will work for recognition and incentives.
You know, that's definitely a good point. because I know that sometimes with Day, and I probably need to do that more with you, Day. Day's on here. Listen.
Yeah, that's the mastermind for you,
Hey,
Rob.
Dave, could you cut off the recording while I talk about you so that you don't hear this later? But no, I know that Day, I mean, if I need so many people on a Zoom or this or that, and I say, okay, here's the goal. Now I will give you this if you get me this. And boy, she will die to get it done, right? And I think you're right, Pamela, that when we do find some of our who's, that we need to make sure that we are
Taking care of them.
incentivizing them, recognizing them. And I probably am, and again, I got two of my who's on here. I'm probably not as great or as good as I should be in doing that. And I appreciate you bringing that. And I probably, Day and Neil here probably appreciate you bringing that up too. Hey, get your assistants on here. Let me talk to them.
You want me to call her? She'll come on. She knows. She loves it because
I think that's what I'll do next time. I think, when we have a class like this again, I think I'll let you guys invite your who's.
Oh, she'd love it. I invite her to different things that we're working on. So yeah, she would show up.
Okay, so that's the question. Who can help me achieve this? Stop working all the time. Here's the bigger thing. Let me ask you this, because this is a little bit of a struggle that I have, and maybe it's my problem. Do you have the same problem I have? Even if you have great assistants, even if you have the great who's, do you yourself have a problem going on a vacation for a week or 2 weeks and shutting it all down and not checking up on everything? And I see some of your heads just, man, like a bobblehead, man. It's like I hit your head and it went like this. I mean, but would you, okay, maybe I should say a better way. Don't you agree with me that we still have that problem of doing that? Talk to me about that for a moment. I mean, do all of you do, or can some of you shut it out?
I came from a different profession, remember, as an athletic trainer. So with that sports medicine, we're 24/7. So even on vacation, I'm expected to answer a phone and emails, for that type of thing. So for me, it's to turn it off is nearly impossible because of 20 plus years of the other profession.
Yeah, I kind of relate to Brandy. Being in the legal field, we're always kind of on call when there's depositions or trials. I'm in there in the thick of skins and trials, and so they contact us right away. So vacations are not really vacations, although they encourage vacations and time off. But we're almost on call, and I found that I'm such a high D that when I speak with someone in real estate, I often wonder, why can't it be right now? And I have to adapt and kind of figure, and then kind of talk low and slow and adapt to their ability. But in the legal world, you always have to lead them to water, even though it's not what they want. It's not what the client wants, but you're the professional and you have to tell them it doesn't matter what you want. It's what's going to happen because this is what's best for you. And I find that struggle between real estate and the prior field that I was in such a rope that I'm trying to untangle. But yeah, that's me.
That's a really good point. Even from your past causes the present to almost be the same, even if you have Judith. I mean, does your who, which is such a wonderful person, Randy, did I get him?
Yeah.
Randy, are you able to go away and feel and
we don't have that relationship.
Get your head too, your bobblehead.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it is, I'm still the lead. I mean, if he's on the ground covering for me, I'm still the one negotiating the contracts. I'm still the one they call. I'm like, hey, we want to see this property. And then I reach out to Randy. We don't have that kind of relationship. I mean, I think if I was to have that, I probably would feel like I need a full staff and have another even broker or a partner or something who's going to look at things, take things as seriously as I do. That 10% doesn't cover that. That would be like I think more of a 50-50 deal.
Right. No, right. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, do we just have to accept that we can never shut it down for a week or two, our business? Do we have to accept that? I see some smiles. I see some shaking. I see some.
I think the struggle, I think for me, the struggle I have, Rob, is that I'm so used to when I get a call or a text, I'm so used to just dropping everything and responding right away that in real estate, when I get a call or text, I feel I have to do the same thing. And because maybe I'm diving back into the business, I don't want to lose the buyer, client, seller, whoever it may be, the lead to another while I'm building my pipeline, that I want to respond. So regardless where I am, it just seems like I'm always on call. Yeah, and you know, because I don't have that huge pipeline yet, and to build that, I want to build the rapport, and I want to build the I want to be the go-to person and respond within seconds. So I've always been used to doing it that way. So that's a tackle for me.
You know, I find it very interesting about myself, and I see you, Judith, that when I first got in the business, when I sold real estate, I worked so hard Monday through Thursday and listed. I didn't do buyers very much. I had, you ready for this? Hold on to your chair. I had over 50 listings.
Oh, that's amazing.
But here's the thing. I didn't work Sundays. I wouldn't even answer my phone. I worked only a half a day Saturday, and I golfed every Friday. And by having listings, and I had a buyer's agent, but I referred out a whole bunch of them to people in my office. And I had one and a half assistants, and I was able to take off. And I didn't even think about it. But it's changed today for me. I mean, in the position I'm in, and I'm in a very good position, you know, whether it be talking to you or whatever it is, just like doing this here. I probably could have got somebody else to do it, but I felt like, no, I'm obligated to them. I got to do it. I don't care if I'm on vacation or not. But guess what? If I was on an African safari today, I wouldn't have been able to do it, right? I would have had to get somebody to do it. Why don't I think about myself being on an African safari with a big old tail like on Jennifer's screen right now and a lion coming? Judith, what do you have?
Well, I was just going to say a couple things. One is, I think part of it is our commitment to making sure our clients get what they need, and that's why they went with us in the first place. But also, anytime I've ever gone traveling for an extended time, and I was actually gone for like a week or two and try to really unplug because I was in Asia or in Europe or something, I lost business. I would get an email invariably from somebody, and they'd say, oh, so-and-so on your staff has been showing us houses or whatever, and they weren't happy. And then also I had an assistant or a woman that I referred some things out to cover for me while I was out of town, and she ended up marketing my clients after I came back. It's really difficult because the business is such a personal business, I think. That's my take.
Well, I'll say it this way, and it's terrible that we have to, that it is that way, isn't it? I mean, it is terrible that we have to think that way. I know that I had an office whenever I was managing for Keller Williams, and I had managed for Long and Foster, but also Keller Williams, and I had 200 people in my office, and I would go away. And I got to tell you something, every time you went away, you lost a couple of people. They just waited for you to leave. And then they stick the key up underneath the door and run. I finally tracked one of them down, and I said, why? Why did you just stick the key under the door and while I was on vacation and leave? You know what they said? Because if you had been there, you would have talked me out of it. Well, heck, if I could have talked you out of it, you probably shouldn't have went anyway. I mean, but anyway, you're right, Judith. I mean, I hate to think this way because I do know some really mega agents. Okay. I'm going to call them mega agents that have big teams. They seem to can do it. They seem to have enough people around them that they can escape it and be okay knowing, and they've got just high level admin people, you know, that are like an office manager that just takes over, you know, just they're as good as they are in almost talking and keeping in touch with everybody and holding it all together.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
Rob, don't you think too, it's where people are in their business when you have, you know, to a certain level, to a certain volume, the business is you, and you can get people to do some, like finding people to take off your lock boxes, do things like that. But when you're talking about your mega teams, they have leads and people, and you know, they're compensated in such a way that you can almost work your way out of the business. There's people that have done that when you get to that level. But when you have agents that are newer to the business, you know, I think sometimes it's harder for them. Because if they step out and someone steps in, and especially if they go to someone who has more experience, it'd be easy to lose their client.
Well, that was happening to me 15 years in. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't happening to me when I was a new agent.
It just happened to me.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and I like what Judith mentioned about having a relationship with some other realtor or broker to assist with that, because I went on a small vacation. I went to Columbia, Maryland, my hometown. I'm from Los Angeles. I was helping a buyer, and when I got back, that buyer just ghosted me, and I found out from the grapevines they bought a new home. After about 2 months of just driving them around looking for properties. And we won't talk about the NAR elephant in the room, but now I'm having all my buyers sign the buyer broker agreement, so that avoid that from possibly happening again. But yeah, I think the mega teams, to Pamela's point, they have other agents that they can rely on, and the solo agents, we have to figure this out. I think it's a matter of time to adapt, but I've got to figure that. And I'm glad I was with this in this mastermind, because there's some valuable things I've learned today that I'm going to definitely use.
Well, thank
Well,
you.
Rob, I might just say one more thing. I'm sure the same thing happens to the mega teams too. It's just they have so many leads, it doesn't matter.
Well,
It's just the nature of the business we're in.
Great point, Judith. Great point. I wanted to bring that up. Sometimes and then I'll say this to you, Nick. When I got into the business in 1988, we didn't have buyer agency agreement. So, man, if you decided to go on a weekend and they found a for sale by owner or new home or something, shoot, man, those realtors sucked them right out, and you couldn't do anything about it. Okay, but what I did is I went and listed a bunch of houses. The listings seemed to have taken care of that when I did lose a buyer because I was on vacation or I left, I still had 10, 20, 30, 40 listings over here that I knew I was going to get paid on when they sold. And I think that could be coming up with the elephant in the room, the NAR elephant, that if we go list a bunch of houses, we're still going to get paid. We don't know 100% what's going to happen with the buyer side. We just don't know 100%. It's all going to get sorted out. We're all going to get used to it, whatever it is, sooner or later. We're all going to be bent out of shape probably for the rest of the year. But eventually, we're all got to shake our heads and say, okay, what do I have to do to really make it in this business? And there's no doubt the underlining how you make it in the business is list like a maniac.
Mhm.
Go list like a maniac, learn to list and go list like a maniac. And that will solve a lot of things. So I had a trainer one time and that said this, and I know that this goes against the relationship part, okay? But he embedded it into my head so much. Show up, pay attention, tell the truth, and don't be attached to the outcome. And I think we get so attached to the outcome. And that's what makes us not sleep at night sometimes, because we're so attached. But I can promise you, if you had, like I had one time, I had 20 closings in 1 month. and 20 listings in that same month. Okay. And 3 or 4 fell apart on me. I felt bad, but I still had about 16, 17 that closed, and I still took 20 more listings. And I had to concentrate on that and not the 4 that I lost. And so when you have an abundance, and I would say really figure how to get abundance versus cherry picking, get an abundance of something. Then and I would say abundance of listings. I mean, go in the next 60 to 90 days and go list 10 houses.
Yeah, and Rob, to your point of the mastermind, the leveraging, it's so much easier to leverage when you list, because then you have a file, you have a system and a process in place of what you do, when to advertise, when the transaction, when you get your contract together, they take care of it. They know to look for the earnest money. They're looking for, when is the home inspection? When's your attorney review done? When to look for the clear to close. All those things are in the system and calendared. And that's why they're so easy to turn over. When you're working with buyers, it's like when a house pops up and you go show it, it's when you're listing, you set your calendar, right? And
Right.
when you're working with buyers, you're kind of,
Well, you're on their terms.
you're at the mercy of the seller and your client.
And if I could say this about, as far as, and I know I have Brandy and I got Jennifer on here that are buyers agents, but I'm going to say this. I've always taught everybody is worth at least, if you're a real estate agent, you're at least worth $200 an hour. Okay. I just believe you're worth $200 an hour. Now, if you take 20 hours to go show property, if it took you that long, man, you got somebody came on the weekend and man, you're gone 6-8 hours at talking about lunch and talking about this and all that, and you don't sell them a house, then your P&L statement, which most of us don't have, right? P&L statement and next time you take a buyer out should have a minus $4,000 on it. I mean, seriously, you should have a minus 4,000. You just spent 20 hours, your time, $200 an hour. Even if it's $100, that's a minus $2,000. You better go sell that next buyer a house very quickly, or you're going to be behind and that's why a lot of agents get out of our business, because they don't understand they're worth so much an hour, and they don't use that P&L type statement where, again, if you 20 hours and you're minus $4,000 or $3,000, your next buyer, you're going to be a little bit more urgent and more maybe sharp in qualifying them. Here's what I always say. Just ask them the question. Be bold enough to ask a question. If I find you the right house and the right price and the right this and the right school system and the right everything this weekend, are you going to buy the house? You going to write a contract? And I guarantee you half of them will go like this. No. Wait. Let me ask that question one more time. If I find you the right house, the right price, the right neighborhood, the right everything, everything is just great, are you going to write a contract this weekend? No. Why? Well, I want to see some more houses. Oh, heck no, not with me. Man, let me give you a referral over to this taxi cab driver in my office and let them take you around and show you property, man, because they don't care. Uber driver. But it's not going to be me. I think if you get more direct sometimes and just ask them, they'll tell you. Because again, they just want to go look sometimes. Pamela?
Rob, I have a question for you. With the SNAR that's coming up, all this, do you think that if we ended up as agents taking retainers to take buyers out, that would incentivize them to be a little more proactive if they were non-refundable?
Yeah, it would.
I think, that might, I don't know if that's what'll come out of this or not, but
I think there was a webinar last week that talked about that, doing the
Was there?
retainer. I can't
Yeah.
remember which one it was, but there was one last week that talked about doing a retainer.
Yeah. I'm
Like, 1,000
hoping
to 1,500.
when
Attorneys do it, why not us?
Mhm.
I know a
Yeah.
lot of agents who do that. for years.
Nick did it. Come on.
Yeah, it would be nice if NAR would give some guidance as to, you know, but that's kind of what the whole lawsuit was about. They thought they gave too much guidance, which they didn't.
Nick, you're gonna
I
say
mean,
something?
realtors are like cats, right? You
Oh
can't.
my gosh.
So.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, that cat you got in there, that big old tail that's in front of your face there.
Oh,
Mine's
well,
sleeping next to
but
me.
I don't know the analogy. What does it mean by that? Can you tell me?
About cats?
Yeah, what meaning like like a cat? What does that mean?
Herding cats.
Herding
It-
cats.
Yeah, you couldn't
know,
herd cats. They
you can't
scatter
herd a
and go
cat.
everywhere.
You cannot hurt the cat.
No, you can't herd cats. You can herd cattle. You can't herd cats.
Cattle,
'Cause
sheep,
they're gonna
not a
scatter all
kitty.
over the place.
You should try herding my 4 girls. There's no way.
Poor girls too, that's right. Well, yeah, I think there's something to that, Pamela, about the retainer. Okay. But
Yeah.
boy, we all know on here it's going to take a lot of education.
Yeah,
Seller.
it is.
They're going to be resistant. You know, the seller, I mean, the buyer is going to be resistant. The sellers are going to be happy.
Well, the
Right.
sellers are, yeah, they're already,
Yeah.
I think that's why some of the areas are slower, they're waiting.
And
Well,
the question is, are you the buyer's agents, are they willing to take a 0.5% or 1%? And that's going to be interesting.
Well, they need to be explained to that, you know, if you don't offer the 3%, they're going to skip your house. And you want every buyer to come to this house. Every buyer, because not everybody likes your house.
And yeah, I mean, no
you got to
doubt
have
about
that conversation, right?
Yeah, and going back, bringing everybody back in off the NAR thing because we just don't know.
Sorry.
Back to the who, not the how. I want to. I wrote down some things, and I want you to think about this for a moment. If you ask the question, "Who can help me achieve this?" What would happen to your life if you asked this question about everything you wanted to accomplish? Okay. What would happen if you asked this question about everything, you ready? You've been procrastinating to do?
Follow up.
There's not enough time in the day.
Who's the who that can stop you from procrastinating? How would your goals change if you could find people that could help you achieve everything you wanted in your life?
Ooh.
How would your confidence change if you had several who's producing, ready, the same results with you? Dang.
No, I don't want anybody
Dang.
else to produce the same result as me. I want them to, you know,
And then more, you want more.
100 times better.
Man, don't do it like me, man. Give me more.
I like her attitude.
Yes. How would your time be spent if you were no longer the one doing everything? How would your income change if you could achieve all your goals and not just some of them? Wow. These are great questions. Wouldn't you agree?
Mm-hmm.
How would your sense of purpose expand if you had brilliant who's that made your goals easier to accomplish? And when the last one here, what if you had access to anyone you wanted to learn from or collaborate with? What if you had access to them?
That would be lovely.
I just did.
Yeah. If you can imagine that world, then you are starting to understand leverage and the who's, not the hows. Just remember this one thing, and we'll finish with this. Who's create results. The right who's, I should say, create results. The hows create problems. And most of the problems are for you. So stop saying, how can I do this? And saying, who can help me do this? You know,
That's why I signed up for your class.
you know, I hung around people whenever I sold real estate, some of the top people in the world. I mean, I did with Mike Ferry organization. He had some of the just top people, and I got to be in masterminds with people. You could look them up, Karen Bernardi and just Gladys Blum and all these people that back then they were selling, you know, 200, 300, 400 houses a year, and they were just incredible, right? And their sense of who's were a whole lot different than our sense of who's. You know what? Because they had all well, let me tell you who their who's were. A chef, a maid, one of them, somebody to drive their car for them while they did business. You know, just think if you had a cook that cooked, you know, for you and you didn't have to worry about that. Just think if you had somebody cleaning your house, right? Those are who's that you don't have to do, because guess what? If you don't have one, what?
You gotta do yourself.
You got to do it.
You are one. You're the maid. You're the chef. You're the landscaper. You know, I finally got to the point. I used to love landscaping. I used to love doing my yard and everything, but I got so busy that I couldn't do it anymore. And I did hire a landscaper. And man, I haven't cut grass in years and years and years and years and years now. And I don't want to cut grass anymore. And so it was very interesting. Whenever I sold my house, because I had a landscaper in Celebration, right, in Florida. And when I sold my house, I moved to the mountains of Virginia there. And it wasn't a community like Celebration where you hire landscapers. And I told the person that I was renting the house from, I'm renting a house. I said, there's only one deal killer here, man. I ain't cutting grass. I even said, I ain't cutting grass. You could say that in the southern parts of there's some places you can. I ain't cutting grass. She goes, okay, well then I'll put the grass out. I will cut the grass for you if you rent the house. Deal. Sign over. Let's do it. Can I get a maid and a chef, you know, on this thing? And today your chef could be what? I mean, it could be Uber Eats, right? It could be DoorDash. It could be something on that line. But I think sometimes we have to even think about that. If we want a little bit more time for ourselves, come out of the business and think of the who's for your life, right? For even your life, if you can afford that. Well, guys, listen, thank you for this time. I just so enjoyed it. And you made my vacation. And I really
glad we were a part of it.
Thank you for being part of it, right? And thank you for this. I hope that you grabbed something out of this, learned a little bit, grabbed a little bit of something. That's what this mastermind's supposed to be. And next week we'll be talking about some more good stuff, and I'll send it out and let you know. Okay. So I'll talk to you next week then, everybody. See ya.
See you later.
Appreciate you. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.